It seems the right is fracturing at its seams. I'm Tyler Traveling Clad, your favorite Baghdadi. If you want to be a Baghdadi just like me, you can get your merch down below at thetravelingclad.com. And today we're speaking about this whole drama with Ben Shapiro and Tucker Carlson and the right basically splitting through the woke right and the sort of old-style right. Ben Shapiro apparently went on his show and criticized the shit out of Tucker Carlson for platforming Nick Fuentes, who Ben Shapiro and him have had a long-standing beef. We're going to take a look at some of Ben's commentary now. Let's take a look.
For those who don't understand what's going on, let's begin with Nick Fuentes. Now, from Tucker Carlson's interview, you might have gathered that Fuentes has some borderline views on race, a peculiar obsession with what he calls organized Jewry, and a rather sad relationship with the female sex. But probably you came away thinking that, for the most part, Fuentes lives on the radical edge of normality. You think that if you watch the interview, because Tucker Carlson decided that it was important not only to host Fuentes, but to smooth over his views, water them down, and make them far more palatable to a normal audience. As we'll discuss in a bit, this is what Tucker Carlson does for a living. But back to Nick Fuentes. To understand just what Tucker did here, we must actually examine what Nick Fuentes says on his show, and has said for almost a decade, because he was asked precisely 0 questions about any of what you're about to see by Tucker Carlson. Nick Fuentes says women want to be raped.
A lot of women want to be raped. And when I say raped, I mean like, that sounds bad when I say it like that. But there's like a lot of women that really want a guy to beat the shit out of them. But also they have to pretend, but part of it is they have to pretend like they don't.
Nick Fuentes says that his followers should kill, rape, and die in his name.
Raise your right hand. All right, everybody raise your right hand. Raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I will kill, rape, and die for Nicholas J. Fuentes.
Nick Fuentes says that white people are justified in being racist.
Reason that we talk about this, by the way, I know a lot of black people see this and they go, man, why are you always talking about black people, this and that? Because there just needs to be some shame here. Well, there's a few reasons. First, white people are every single bit justified in being racist. Every single bit justified, to the extent that that means going out of your way to avoid black people when you see them.
Nick Fuentes is a Hitler admirer and a Holocaust denier.
Buddy, it's Führer Friday. It is Hitler Friday. Shut up. It is Heil Hitler Friday, nigga. Heil Hitler, all my niggas Nazis.
Hitler was a pedophile and kind of a pagan. It's like, well, he was also really fucking cool. So, you know, time to grow up. We're not children anymore, am I right? Am I right? Am I right, boys? Am I right? Let's go. He was also really fucking cool. It doesn't really sound correct to me. Wait a second. It takes 1 hour to cook a batch of cookies, and you have 15 ovens, probably in 4 different kitchens, right? Doing 24 hours a day, every day for 5 years. How long would it take you to make 6 million? I don't know. It certainly wouldn't be 5 years, right? The math doesn't seem to add up there. The math doesn't quite seem to add up there. I don't think you'd result in 6 million. Maybe 200 to 300,000 cookies. And I think the Red Cookie Association said something like that, probably 200 to 300,000 cookies baked, probably. And in addition, you know, in this hypothetical, I imagine that if you took aerial photographs over the kitchens, you would need to see certain smokestacks to release the smoke from baking the cookies. And the smokestacks would project certain shadows, but I guess they're not visible in the aerial photographs taken over the kitchens. Moreover, if you look at the soil texture, it's really not deep enough for mass cookie storage underground.
Nick Fuentes believes that the Jews start all the wars, that perfidious Jews in positions of power ought to be killed, and says the Jews are filth who have to be removed from the country.
And once again, remember who is responsible for it all: the Jews. They are responsible for every war in the world. It's not even debatable at this point. This has nothing to do with oil. This has nothing to do with democracy. This has nothing to do with liberal, because they pose a threat to Israel's hegemony. That's why we're bombing their nukes, to pave the way for regime change so Israel can dominate the region, because that makes them the most powerful they can be.
There is an occult element.
at the high levels of society, and specifically among the Jews, out of our country.
So, that right there is just a brief glimpse into the twisted mind of Nick Fuentes. And there's plenty more where that came from. Of course, hours of it per day, in fact. And there's no doubt that Nick Fuentes has a lot of play these days. That's because the left, by moving into a politics of anti-white, anti-Christian, anti-male identitarianism, created its bizarro mirror image, a white pseudo-Christian incel identitarian movement dedicated to destroying the institutions of this country and replacing Americanism with something else. Nick Fuentes' philosophy is not fully formed. It's an incoherent stew of malignity. But that's where Tucker Carlson enters the story. Now, since his exit from Fox News in 2023, when, of course, he was a very, very popular host, Tucker Carlson has turned himself into a conspiracist and a crank and a pathological liar. Tucker excuses Vladimir Putin's murderous and barbarous reign. He has even become one of his most ardent defenders.
It is so much nicer than any city in my country. I had no idea. My father spent a lot of time there in the 80s when he worked for the US government and barely had electricity. And now it is so much cleaner and safer and prettier aesthetically. It's architecture, it's food, it's service, than any country, city in the United States that you have to, and this is non-ideological. How did that happen? How did that happen? And at a certain point, I don't think the average person cares as much about abstractions as about the concrete reality of his life. And if you can't use your subway, for example, as many people are afraid to in New York City because it's too dangerous, you have to sort of wonder, like, isn't that the ultimate measure of leadership? And that's true, by the way, it's radicalizing for an American to go to Moscow, I didn't know that, I've learned it this week, to Singapore, to Tokyo, to Dubai and Abu Dhabi. Because these cities, no matter how we're told they're run and on what principles they're run, are wonderful places to live.
So I guess you put in 10 rubles here and you get it back when you put the cart back. So it's free, but there's an incentive to return it and not just bring it to your homeless encampment. I went from amused to legitimately angry. So we were guessing what this would cost. Everybody here from the United States buys groceries, and we didn't pay any attention to costs as we were just putting in the cart what we would actually eat over a week. And we all came in around $400, about $400. It was $104 US here. And that's when you start to realize that ideology maybe doesn't matter as much as you thought, corruption. If you take people's standard of living and you tank it through filth and crime and inflation, and they literally can't buy the groceries they want, at that point, maybe it matters less what you say or whether you're a good person or a bad person. You're wrecking people's lives in their country, and that's what our leaders have done to us.
When Tucker Carlson interviewed Vladimir Putin, by the way, Vladimir Putin was so amused by Tucker Carlson's easy questioning that he actually mocked him. Tucker Carlson has massaged the Iranian dictatorship and admitted to not asking any difficult questions of the president of that dictatorship.
The interview is limited by a couple of factors. One, it was done by remote through a translator. That's always awkward. For another, I don't speak Persian. And there are all kinds of questions that I didn't ask the president of Iran, particularly questions to which I knew I could not get an honest answer, such as, was your nuclear program totally disabled by the bombing campaign by the U.S. government a week and a half ago? There's no chance he's going to answer that question honestly. I didn't bother to ask it. The answer, in fact, from an American perspective, even from the CIA's perspective, is unknowable.
Tucker bizarrely worships at the altar of Qatar.
They're mad at you because you don't put your parents in some institution. Maybe they're trying to break up your families.
Well, it can be a reason. Honestly, I don't know what is really the purpose behind this, but we see that, you know, a lot of things that are happening are attacks on humanity in general. It's when you lose the family value, when you lose the connection between the family themselves, you will lose the connection between the people as well, on a broader level, on the people in the same neighborhood, on the people in the same region, in the same countries. And that's basically will just make us, you know, as individuals who are, quote unquote, independent from anyone. That's what we will feel. Yet it will just make our societies vulnerable and easy to be penetrated.
That's right.
Tucker Carlson praises Venezuela's Nicolas Maduro, even as Maduro keeps the entire country in communist penury and ships fentanyl into the United States to kill Americans by the hundreds of thousands.
Why are we so opposed to Nicolas Maduro? So if you ask someone on the street, random person, why are we against Nicolas Maduro? The answer you're going to get is, who's Nicolas Maduro? But if you find someone in South Florida, for example, who knows who Nicolas Maduro is, who can identify where Venezuela is on a map, that person will almost certainly say, well, because he's a communist or a socialist. He's exceedingly left-wing, and that is true. Nicolas Maduro and his government are very left-wing on economics. Not on social policy, by the way, which is kind of interesting. In Venezuela, gay marriage is banned, abortion is banned, sex changes for transgenderism are banned. It's one of the very few countries in the entire hemisphere with those policies. It is on social policy, not defending the regime, just saying. One of the most conservative
Oh, Tucker, you're such a fucking retard. You are such a fucking idiot.
countries in North or South or Central America. Only El Salvador really comes close.
Tucker Carlson glosses Hamas, the genocidal jihadi group behind October 7th, as a political organization.
You can't claim that they're in Hamas while simultaneously claiming that Hamas is a group of jihadis. They're Islamic extremists, which they also claim constantly, which I don't know if that's true, by the way. It seems more like a political organization. But whatever it is, they're telling us constantly they're Al-Qaeda.
Tucker Carlson has attacked President Trump as a cover-up artist for sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein on behalf of Israel and Mossad, making sure, of course, never to mention President Trump's name, because, of course, Tucker's a coward.
And moreover, it's extremely obvious to anyone who watches that this guy had direct connections to a foreign government. Now, no one's allowed to say that that foreign government is Israel because we have been somehow cowed into thinking that that's naughty. There is nothing wrong with saying that. There is nothing hateful about saying that.
Tucker Carlson also said in his interview with Nick Fuentes that the people he hates most in the entire world, more than ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Trans-Tifa, Marxists, rapists, murderers, are Christian Zionists who represent an enormous chunk of the conservative base. According to Tucker Carlson, who admits that he first read the Bible all the way through just 2 years ago, Christians who support a Jewish state of Israel are heretics and blasphemers with a brain virus.
How do you explain Mike Huckabee, Ted Cruz, and there are a lot like that, John Bolton. I mean, I've known them all, George W. Bush, like Karl Rove. I mean, all people I know personally who I've seen like be seized by this brain virus, and they're not Jewish. Most of them are self-described Christians, and then the Christian Zionists who are, well, Christian Zionists. Like, what is that?
Right.
And I could just say for myself, I dislike them more than anybody. Because like what? Because it's Christian heresy, and I'm offended by that as a Christian.
But most of all, Tucker Carlson acts as an ideological launderer for other people's evils. Tucker Carlson says many inflammatory things, always buying back just enough of it to appear as though he's not saying what he's clearly saying. He's a master of gaslighting. Tucker Carlson, for example, would never say out loud what Nick Fuentes does. He wouldn't say the things many of his guests say. And so instead, he acts as an ideological launderer. He takes other people's hideous ideas, he softens them, he treats them with love and care, and then he provides them with a massive signal boost. So, for example, he'll ask a series of wildly obsequious questions to Nick Fuentes. He'll even let Nick Fuentes' support for Joseph Stalin slide.
It's actually funny. It was December 18th. I remember because that's an important date to me. And it's Joseph Stalin's birthday.
Oh.
I'm a fan.
You're a fan of Stalin's.
Mm-hmm. Always an admirer. But we don't need to go into that, I guess.
Well, that's okay. Let's get back. We'll circle back to that.
That may be a little sign from Qatar right there. Don't talk about it, right? Don't answer that one. Don't answer that one at all. I've said this on multiple episodes now. I'm happy for you, woke right. I'm extremely happy for the right side of America that you are choosing a gay, autistic Mexican, okay, to represent the American right. A retarded gay Mexican has now become he's become the new Shapiro. He's become the new model of conservatism in America. If that's what the right wants in America, gay retarded Mexican we shall have.
Of course, there is no First Amendment right to a Tucker Carlson sensual massage. But to listen to Tucker, you'd think there was, so long as you despise America, oppose President Trump's foreign policy, and bear a peculiar dislike of Jews. Tucker Carlson, you see, is a coward. And here is where his relationship with Nick Fuentes begins, with Nick Fuentes correctly pointing out that Tucker Carlson is a coward. You see, Tucker Carlson, a few weeks back, had on Candace Owens to treat her to his usual ideological laundering services. That's after years of Candace Owens saying things like this.
And it is the case that dinosaur bones, for whatever reason, are always just found by the paleontologist. Like, it's not like you and me walking outside. I'm like, hey, a dinosaur bone. And, or by somebody who's related to a paleontologist. It's very strange. And then, but it was just convenient for Israel that JFK got shot. It was just convenient, you guys. Totally convenient. It was convenient for Israel, by the way, when the towers went down.
I just want to be clear. Anything happens to me, blame the Zionists. Like 1,000% blame the Zionists. Like let that be my parting word. I'm waking people up to the fact that pedophiles are in power. Yes. They are literally in power. And that is intentional because then they can be controlled while they are in power. And they are also exhibiting signs of a psychopathology that lets them know that they will do harm to the masses and feel nothing because they were themselves, many of them, raped when they were children. Yep. It is not a coincidence that Justin Trudeau is gay. Obama, gay. Zelensky, gay. Emmanuel Macron, gay and married to a trans man who molested him when he was a child.
Well, Candace Owens had recently hosted Nick Fuentes, and this led Tucker Carlson, in an attempt to dissociate from Fuentes, to label him a weird little gay kid operating from a basement, and a Fed as well.
That's obvious to me. I've been around a long time. I know it when I see it.
Yeah, and I will say I don't understand it. We were very kind to him. Like, I truly, like, we almost said, like, we felt maybe he was a bit lonely. We should invite him back for dinner. I mean, that's how good of an experience I had.
It's clearly it's
and then
sad.
It was a 180. So it's either A, it's being driven from like a little boy insecurity, and he just was so worried that he like just went on the attack because he doesn't know how to have normal relations after being banned everywhere.
Well, I think there's that
could be one element.
The angry gay kid thing going on. Yeah.
Well, Nick Fuentes did not take kindly to this. After all, here was Tucker Carlson.
By the way, if you think this isn't a total grift, you're retarded. If you think that Tucker, Candace, and Nick Fuentes are not being paid, allegedly, yes, I have to say allegedly to protect myself, but if you think they're not being paid by the same people to now work together after Tucker's calling him gay, you've got another thing coming and you're slightly
A man
slow.
Nick Fuentes correctly sees as a fellow traveler, dismissing him, all the while refusing to say the sorts of things for which Fuentes takes slings and arrows. And so Fuentes unleashed on him as a fraud and also as an expert on gaslighting.
Tucker is like the goat of gaslighting. But unironically, he goes up at the memorial and said, Charlie Kirk told the truth. You know who else told the truth? Jesus. And you know what happened? He got killed by Jews. And people said, so are you saying that the Jews killed Charlie Kirk in the way that they killed Jesus for telling the truth because they hate the truth? And Tucker said, I never said that. You're crazy. I never said that. Everyone eats hummus. What do you mean everyone runs Jerusalem? But I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth. Tucker Carlson says, I have so many trust funds, I never have to work. Tucker went to a $45,000 per year private high school, then a $45,000 per year selective Ivy League school in New England. Tucker Carlson's daddy was a Reagan appointee. And then, after years of bragging about being an elite, bragging about being so out of touch and so rich, now he's going to be the spokesperson for all the white people. Now he's going to roll up his sleeves. I just like to hunt and fish in my log cabin. I care about Klarna and credit card debt. But then when it comes to me, I'm one of the real disaffected white people. You want to talk about
You're
me
not
and
white.
them?
You're not white. You're Mexican.
I am them.
Well, there was one big problem for Tucker Carlson in all of this. Nick Fuentes is absolutely 100% correct. Tucker is a coward, and Tucker's audience, much of which he shares with Nick Fuentes, knows it. And so Tucker hit upon a final stratagem. He let Nick Fuentes cuck him. He brought Nick Fuentes on to legitimate his ideology. He signal boosted Fuentes, glossed him, shined him, presented him to the world, all in order to protect his own reputation with his online base, a base he is competing over with Nick Fuentes. Now, of course, Tucker has a right to do all of this for the 100th time. He can do what he likes. This is America. But there's no question that Tucker has become the most virulent super spreader of vile ideas in America. And the rest of us who oppose those vile ideas have every right to call him that. Well, now Tucker Carlson has seen fit to launder Nick Fuentes, the person who hated Charlie most and who wished him destruction. That's not an act of friendship. It's an act of sick evil. And then, of course, there's Tucker Carlson's relationship with the vice president. Certainly, Vice President Vance has been quite generous with Tucker Carlson. That loyalty was not reciprocated last week, to say the least. Here, for example, is what Nick Fuentes has said about J.D. Vance's wife, Usha.
Andrew Tate and Bronze Age pervert and all these people, for years, all they talk about is going to the gym, being a vitalist, fighting the Matrix, India smells bad, all this kind of shit. And now they're all in favor of a fat race mixer who's married to a Jeet who named his son Vivek, who was mentored by a Jewish neocon and a gay fed, Peter Thiel. This guy has a non-white wife and a kid named Vivek.
You're literally Mexican.
This guy is going to be a defender of white identity? I don't think so. This guy's going to defend American identity?
You're not white. You're
This man made
Mexican.
advance for having an Indian wife. Yet Trump's wife is an immigrant who was working here illegally for a time. His son is half foreign, bilingual, and holds dual citizenship. Yet you give him a pass. You're either a hypocrite or just retarded.
She's white. Dude, she's white. If we had millions of Slovenian supermodels immigrating to America, I don't think we'd have a big problem with it.
Tucker Carlson had on Nick Fuentes and did not ask him a single question about any of this. He just brought him on to launder his ugly ideas and make him more popular. That doesn't seem quite like the act of a friend.
He's literally a Mexican. He's not white. I'm whiter than Nick Fuentes. I swear to God. I really am. And this is just the beginning. We have so many more clips to dig into here. Tucker Carlson responds to Ben Shapiro on Dave Smith's show. This was always going to happen. Let's take a look.
This was always going to happen. Fuentes didn't do it. I didn't do it. Certainly, you didn't do it. No individual did it. It was just inevitable because the consensus itself was fake. It was totally fake. And now we're getting into what Ben Shapiro used to celebrate, that fabled marketplace of ideas. And he's going to go bankrupt in that marketplace because there's very little support for his position, which is fundamentally lobbying on behalf of a foreign country. And no one wants to do that anymore. Why would they?
Now, one of the things, so I was watching a little bit actually of Ben Shapiro's show today. Liam McCullum, who is a good friend of mine and super, super smart young kid. Again, not being condescending, but I'm 42 and he's in his 20s. But he sent me the episode of Ben Shapiro today. So I'm pretty pissed at him for that. That's not a cool thing to do to a friend. But I did watch a little bit of it and he's going, he's like he's sitting there and he's going like, Tucker Carlson, and then just completely like, in a demented way representing your view. Tucker Carlson, the platforming of Holocaust deniers and this and loving Nazis. The American people hate that. The American people reject that. And meanwhile, there's just this amazing feature about, the new decentralized media landscape where like we can all look at the numbers and we can see who's gaining in relevance and who's losing it. And the fact is that like, Nick Fuentes is ascendant. Candace Owens is humongous. She's been breaking records. So that you were the biggest show at cable news, got fired and got bigger after that. But again, you can just look at the numbers. They're all right there. And Ben Shapiro went from being like the king of the online conservative guys to being very much a laughing stock and falling down in all these numbers. So they want to sit here and try to convince you that what you're seeing in front of you isn't really happening. But we all know that it is. And as you said, this whole thing was always such an illusion. There's so many, and this has been, I think, one of the major themes in your Fox News show, and it's continued with you on X and YouTube, that it's like, the truth is that there was never a referendum amongst the American people. Hey, do you guys want to like radically change the nature of this country through massive immigration? Like, it's not like there was ever a vote for that because you never could have gotten that passed. There's never been a referendum on being a world empire. Like we have, in fact, I like to make this point all the time, as Ron Paul used to always make this point. The peace candidate almost always wins the presidency. Like if you go through whenever the American people have a chance, all the way back to like even when Woodrow Wilson won the presidency, we're going to keep you out of the war. FDR, we're going to keep you out of the war. Even Lyndon Johnson, when he was at the height of the Vietnam War, how did they beat Barry Goldwater? He's going to drop the bomb. He's going to be the guy who comes in and drops the atom bomb. George W. Bush ran on a humble foreign policy, no nation building, no policing the world. He won on that. Barack Obama ran on ending the wars. He won on that. Donald Trump ran on ending the wars. He won on that. Like, the only one you could even say was like Joe Biden beating Donald Trump, but that wasn't really about foreign policy. That was the year of 2020, the chaos in the streets, the lockdowns. People wanted to return to normalcy, or at least some people did. Probably not as many as they say. But the peace candidate always wins. And so you just have this, the idea that the consensus is that we must break up.
I can't really listen to this anymore. I would be honest with you. I can't finish this point. I can't finish this one clip. Here's the thing, okay? And I need to make it very clear. We are being invaded in the media, or not the media, but like this new age media. We're being invaded by retards. Tucker Carlson, Dave Smith, and I agree with Dave Smith, by the way. Ben Shapiro, and I say this humbly as somebody who grew up watching Ben Shapiro. I love Ben Shapiro. I appreciate Ben Shapiro. I don't agree with him on everything, but I appreciate him very much. He can't fight this fight anymore. Not because he's lost relevancy, because he's too civil. This fight needs to be fought by people like me and the newer generation that's coming up right now in this movement. Not because we're conservative, but because we're willing to call these fucking retards what they are. Retards. Gay Mexicans. You have to be able to say it. This is now a war of who's more brutal, who's more mean, who's willing to actually take the shot, who's willing to actually say it how it is. We can't have Ben Shapiro in a suit providing information properly. It's not going to work. You're not influencing anyone. It's just not going to work anymore.
Gaslighting is a term you might hear a lot.
And I can just sort of picture the scene in a lamplit room with a bunch of guys sitting around eating hummus, thinking about what do we do about this guy telling the truth about us. We must make him stop talking.
And I wasn't on Twitter, but I kept getting texts from people like, oh, they're so mad at you about the hummus or something. Hummus. Since when is hummus Jew? It's an Arab food. I mean, the whole thing is so bonkers. And as someone who has zero interest in participating in any kind of boycott, much less against Israel, I'm just not interested. I'm happy, whatever, buy the hummus and use the software. I don't care.
Gaslighting is a form of manipulation where, over a long period of time, often months or years, a gaslighter slowly leads their victim to believe that they can't trust themselves. So they have to trust the gaslighter instead.
Supporting Israel because it's an ally.
I don't even know what those words mean. I think Israel's a great country that deserves our support, as I do.
And who is Israel that depends on the United States, that is a vassal state of the United States, supposedly?
Okay, he's retarded and he's being paid by Qatar. I appreciate this clip, but I really can't sit through all this stuff. It's too much of the same shit. Like, is it clear enough that Tucker is retarded? Is it clear enough that he's being paid by a foreign government to say this stuff, allegedly? Is it clear enough? I think it is clear enough.
I would be very happy for to see Donald Trump impeached for the illegal, immoral, borderline war of genocide that he's been helping the Saudis conduct in Yemen. Even grading on a curve. He is a war criminal who deserves to be tried and buried under the prison, just right alongside Barack Obama and George W. Bush and John McCain and all the rest of them. Let me just say this real quick. Donald Trump should be in prison for war crimes for what he did to the people of Yemen. How's that for taking on the right? You're just defending your Democratic president. Good. I actually stand on principle. But I think I might vote for Trump. He should be impeached and removed for this one. I would be...
Here's the thing. Without these even being clips, okay, let's talk honestly. If these are the people that are at the helm of your ship right now, y'all are fucking dumb. I'm sorry. I'm not saying this from a perspective of somebody who's above you. I'm below you. I'm a caveman. I'm hooga booga. I have a shirt that says Baghdadi, for Christ's sake. I'm low brow, motherfucker. If I'm low brow and I'm a hooga booga caveman, I can look at this shit and say, y'all are fucked. If these are your leaders, what the hell? I would choose a stick and a dodo bird to lead me before I'd choose a fucking gay Mexican. A gay Mexican. That's who's going to lead the fucking Republican movement. I'm shocked, man. 2025, you live in America your whole life. You grow up with the George Bush leading the fucking war on terror, and all of a sudden you vote this fucking gay Mexican in to be the fucking... What's going on with you guys in America? What the hell is happening over there? What is going on?
Groy Urbano 07 sent $50. Hey, Ben, keep Nick Fuentes' name out your mouth. You're irrelevant now. Love you, Nick, less than 3.
Well, and he should debate me. If he feels so strongly, then debate me. He won't. He knows he won't. You know he won't. I know he won't. Come and debate me then. I have 55,000 live viewers. How many live viewers do you get? He knows that if he debates me, it'll be the most watched debate in politics in 10 years. It'll be bigger than the Trump-Biden debate. It'll be the most watched debate since Trump debated Hillary Clinton. He knows he will lose. He knows that everyone will rally to my side, and he knows that Israel first is over. That's why he'll never do it. But the offer stands. You want to play my clips, call me out. You want to hide. I'm right here. I'm right here. I will debate you anytime, anywhere. Bring it on. You won't. You're a bitch. You would lose. You know that. Keep talking.
I do think, by the way, I agree with Nick Fuentes. He's too retarded to fight or to debate Ben Shapiro. He's literally too dumb. And I think that he would win because he would appeal to cave people. Or not cave, not to say that all the people who follow Nick Fuentes are cave people, but to say that is the appeal that he's going to get. So I say, instead of Ben Shapiro debating Nick Fuentes, let Ben Shapiro fall back respectfully into irrelevancy, because that's just what's going to happen. And I say this with all due respect to Ben Shapiro. I don't hope that that's the case. It's just I'm sorry, brother, you can't fight this fight with them anymore. I don't think it's going to work. I don't think you can't be the one to do it anymore. Got to let somebody else at the helm of the ship fight it. And you got to let somebody else representing the Jews fight that fight against Nick Fuentes, maybe in a year from now, maybe in 2. And I'm not implying that it's me, yeah? I think I would do a good job, but I'm not implying that is me. I don't think I'm at the point of the clout that these kind of little clout suckers like Nick Fuentes need to get off on what they're doing. But you need a cave person to debate somebody like Nick Fuentes. Ben Shapiro is too civil. He wouldn't be able to do it. Nick Fuentes would wipe the floor with him because of his incivility. Let's see this last clip.
Israel's under attack. It's the worst attack since the Holocaust, and Trump didn't talk about Israel at all. I mean, what's going on? And why isn't there a war with Iran tomorrow? Iran has to be eradicated. The terrorists. And Joe Biden sent them billions of dollars, and the terrorists. Who could vote for this guy? He's like a Palestinian. Israel's under attack.
Yeah, I mean, again, look, this is not highbrow. This is like what I do. This is lowbrow. We need more lowbrow. I just want to make it clear. We didn't make the rules. It's not representative of who we are. It doesn't mean we're bad people. But it means we require somebody in the same level of stupidity, idiocy, autism, retardation. We need the same level of stupidity to fight this stupid. You can't come from above with it. It's not going to work. You're not going to convince anybody except for the already convinced. If you got a hookah booga, let's hookah booga, baby. That's my 2 cents. I'll see you guys in the next one. I love you a long time. Goodbye, Klats.
Has this ever happened to you? Hey, are you a Zionist? What is this hesitation? You think Judah the Maccabee was hesitating when he's fighting for Israel? Here, take this. Do you think Queen Esther hesitated before stopping Haman from ending the Jews of Persia? Well, hey Habibi, you think Herzl thought he was a white colonizer as he Zionized the Jews of Europa? Listen, kid, I don't care if you're a Muslim, a Jew, or a Christian. You're a Zionist, right? Yeah. Well, a good Zionist goes to thetravelingclad.com and buys some provocative merchandise. They do? Absolutely, a bitch. I have some incredible designs for you, Yeled. They say everything promised to you 3,000 years ago. Here, take a shirt with a matching hat. For you, good price. They say they kick you from 109 countries. Here, join the 109 club. Take shirt and matching hat. For you, good price. Habibi, you want to Zionize? Here, take shirt, matching hat. You like Kuba Select shel Safta? Here, take shirt, matching hat. Take sticker, take hoodie. Take, good price, take, good price, take, good price, take, good price, take. Yossi, achi, he understand you, stop! A good Zionist goes to thetravelingclad.com and buys merch. Yalla, Habibi, for you, good price.
If you don't want to buy any merchandise, the best way to support me is by donating on Buy Me a Coffee, my PayPal, or becoming a member on my Patreon. Your support is very much needed and very much appreciated. Thank you.